Everyone. It is Wednesday, and we know what that means. It's Wealth Wellness Wednesday. We hope that you're having a great relationship with wealth and wellness piece to it, because you know what? More money means that you can impact other people in a positive way, especially those that are less fortunate. But with that, we are so excited this morning because we have a guest. But good morning. This is Carol, so AKA Naughty Bus, live with Two
Sisters. Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Janice, aka Wellness Diva 5.0. Really digging my animated lip color this morning, I just might add. You know, what better way to segue into lip color with having lots of color around me? In any event, we have obviously welcomed back our amazing guest, Holly Hughes. She is the author of Real Not Perfect. So let's just dive right on into the conversation. So welcome back. This is actually your third appearance.
I know. I love you guys. I love you guys.
Your second.
Well, I like that it's your third appearance. We just celebrated, which we didn't announce yesterday because yesterday was a little crazy, was our 300th episode. And I truly believe in the power of three, whether it's 3, 30, 300, 3,000, not so much on the 3 trillion. I'm not going to go to that part. But you are welcomed, and we're excited that this is your third appearance.
So give us a kind of an update on where you are right now. Love to hear how your book is going. I'm sure it's doing very well. What's happening in your world today?
Well, actually, you know, it's been a fascinating summer, and energetically, it's been a summer, like the summer, and now is ramping up. I don't know if you guys know about the Jewish holidays, but it's Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur is coming up, and it's like Day of Atonement, which really means say sorry to people that you might have hurt, take responsibility for the things that you've done and what's working in your life, and make changes. Like that's how I like to explain it. And this summer has been a summer of that. It is, what have your goals been? Emotional, spiritual, money, whatever, and how you've been working toward it. You might realize it's not working. I've seen a lot of people, and I've experienced this a lot myself. How we thought things were going to manifest, come into our life, hasn't come that way. And we've had to let go of how things are. So for me, if I was stuck in a poor me mentality, I'd be like, it's been a summer of loss and letdown, right? But the reality is that all my goals haven't changed, but how I thought they were going to happen has. Like, I have to retake my power. So my book came out, it's doing actually quite well. I get some amazing messages from people, like, because my book is part workbook, and they'll send me pictures of them writing answers down. I have people reading my book from teenagers to women in their 80s. So I feel like depending on where you are, it will affect you differently, just because of the subject matter. It addresses relationships with family, friends, work, and, you know, defining yourself in your own terms. So for me, defining myself in my own terms this summer, I actually ended my relationship with my literary agent because I felt like it took too much compromise on my part to make it work. And we were no longer on the same page. No matter what I did, I thought I needed one, but really with the world the way it is now, and having done, being an independent author in the past, it's fine. That works for me as well. And I was going to do some events, and then I was like, you know what? The integrity of the event doesn't really line up. So I'll just wait. It's okay to wait and then just give it a little more time. And I think COVID is still having a massive impact on everything. So my summer has been like that. I've been focusing more on helping the emotional health of people, including myself and my family.
Well, that's amazing, because it's such an intricate part, especially when you're an entrepreneur, you're doing self-help, you're chatting, you're on podcasts, you're a guest speaker, you're writing, that we also need to remember that as much as we want that piece to it to impact other people in a positive way, or maybe even make them aware of something that they didn't even consider for themselves that was deep inside themselves, we still have to remember our own self-care. And that's a hard balance, don't you think?
100%. That's part of why I really try to unplug my phone at 8:30 at night and put it in a room that I'm not in. Or a lot of people like to send me messages over the weekend. And I don't reply because like I have to do a hard stop, right? If I don't hard stop, then you realize you're never not working, and that's not what I want to teach people. And I'm always so much happier when I'm not. And the truth is sometimes you're in a bad mood, right? And you have to just be in the bad mood. Sometimes life hands us stuff that's not fair. That's how it feels, right? It hurts. It's situations or relationships, they're just not going where you're going. And that's what I've been talking about on like my Instagram this week is like, sometimes you have to put a bigger boundary up and step away from someone for a little while. Doesn't mean you don't love them. It doesn't mean, but it means like right now it ain't working. If it's not working, don't force it. Take some time. And your children, anyone who has whatever age children, can see a person managing emotions and coping, because faking happy is bad. It's just, I just think it's, I have a slightly vulgar thing. I'm like, faking happy is like faking an orgasm. Why would you? Like, why would you do that?
And I I love the way you put that, but it's so true because we were actually just chatting about pieces of that. Frequently we'll get people asking me and asking Jan, like, how you guys manage to, chat about those relationships, because the last 2 years, really, when you think about it, where, the economy, our country, counties, states are all kind of in different weird phases. And when you are sharing and caring, and you have, possibly somebody in your life that's been in your life for a while, and, they become that keyboard, not warrior, but bully, and start messaging you. I don't, not really, liking where you're going, or I don't like the message, blah, 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 and how do you deal with that? And I always say, people are placed in our life, in our journey, for sometimes a lifetime, sometimes for a season, sometimes for a learning lesson, or sometimes to maybe push our growth because it infuriates us so that it kind of like the lighting of the match under your ass almost.
Yeah.
So, what I tell people is it's okay to end relationships. I always say if you're going to end it, do it respectfully, of course, and know that, it's nothing so personal that you can't say, you're not adding value to where I'm at right now. And I'm not going to fake that. I'm not going to say, let bygones be bygones. That's for me is one of the worst little phrases out there, because some people can't, and that's okay. If it doesn't serve you anymore, if that person's input into your life, it's okay to say, and you don't have to, like some people make this big announcement or
I know, I don't get that.
You can go ahead. One of my last messages was, you can defriend me, not me saying this is the person saying it to me. And I'm like, the fact that you say that, I'm not going to defriend you. That's on you. That's not on me. You don't like, a message, you don't like what I'm providing. That's okay. And you can defriend me. I never get, I don't know. I don't get like all out of frazzle if somebody defriends me. It just doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, that can be super painful. I actually had someone I've known for over 6 years suddenly block me. And I was like, well, you tell me all the time you don't want anyone to mother you. And yet you're trying to set up our relationship in a mother dynamic. Guess what? I'm not going to play. I'm not playing your game. And then they got upset. And I was like, but instead of having a conversation, what they do, they had a tantrum. And I was like, are you done blocking me? Because like she has 7 accounts, like whatever. So I'm like, on these other accounts, you didn't block me. So you're still creeping. And then she's like, oh, you saw that. Blah, blah. I think in today's world, people forget you don't have to agree on everything to be friends. And I think it's good to hear other things, but it's a little too easy to be a keyboard troll warrior, whatever you want to say, and not take a moment to think before you react. And
how about this? Ding, 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 pick up the phone. I mean, I find
people don't know how to do that.
Either they don't know how to do it.
It's heavy.
They don't know how to do it, or it's almost a safety net to be that behind the keyboard, oh, I'm going to tell her, or I'm going to tell him, and send, instead of saying, hey, I don't agree with this or whatever. You know what? Before I go crazy, what's your take on it? Let me hear your side of it. And they don't do that. It's crazy.
No, it's sad. It's maturity.
I think a lot of times too, people want to shift your perspective to suit what they're going through. That's personally what I have a problem with. Obviously, a lot of shifting going on the past 2 months. And I found myself in a position where it's not that I don't care what somebody thinks of me. Obviously, I do, but how they think or perceive me for their situation is none of my business. However, if it migrates over to what I'm doing, well, of course, I'm going to say something. I will say it respectfully, but it's not always that way with the person on the other side. And I think a question that we need to ask ourselves is it worth me getting all upset about? Is it worth me wasting my energy? No, thank you. Boom, that's it. You either like it or you don't, you agree or you don't. Let's have a discussion about it. Pick up the phone. A lot of times people are obviously trolling. I like that word, by the way, keyboard trolls. They're trolling behind the keyboard. They don't have the confidence or the posture to say, hey, I don't agree with this, but this is how I feel about it. This is where I'm coming from. Let's hear the passion in your voice. We don't have to be arguing with one another. We can have a great discussion.
Yeah, we can agree to disagree. I mean, I think the political climate since before COVID has been black and white. You're either good or bad, but I can agree with everything else in your world except maybe your view on this one thing. But maybe you have a view, I'll say the word, on vaccination because maybe there's illness in your family and that vaccination is saving your family, or you have illness in your family and the vaccination would not react well to the illness in your body. There's more to it than that. Yes, the technology has been around for a long time, but something that's less than a year old or a year old is scary when the companies themselves who are going to be making profit are the ones really pushing it. That can be a little nerve-wracking when we know that the information about a disease changes on the weekly. And there are so many sources coming out and so many opinions coming out. It is overwhelming and scary. And the people who live more on fear will gravitate towards that. I mean, I think there's all different things. When mandates for a lot of people, when things become mandated and don't go through the political process and get voted on or whatever, that's a ruling governing body taking control over everything for some people. Other people are like, it's common sense. So, there is validity to each side of it if you take the time not to be offended by the side. But that some days you can and some days you can't, and or don't go there. But it doesn't mean that everything else about the person is terrible. It just doesn't.
No, and I think that's what everything gets blurred for people. I think people just don't have the patience. They for everyone in the world right now, they've got so many different variables that are coming at them. And also trying to decipher, what is credible information, what is not credible information. And because we are really in a digital world where you're hearing it from your TV, it's being live streamed, on your social media, different platforms, because most people have an average, believe it or not, of 3 social media platforms. And that has changed in the sense of the alerts. You're not only getting them from alert, you're getting emails, you're getting updates. Then, you put that aside. Okay, turn the TV off, put my phone in the other room. Well, I'm on the computer. Well, guess what? The same thing occurs because you're still getting them. And it's very difficult to know when to say, you know what, I've got to set those boundaries up. And the boundaries are not just with digital. If you have a friend who their only means of communication with you is through social media, pause. There's a way to do that. You can unfollow them. You can pause them. You can take a snooze from them. They even have that a snooze for 30 days.
The mute button too. There's a mute.
Yeah, and there's a mute button because it's not just the media. It's people that are in your life that are now becoming the alert, the breaking news. And that piece of it does not do anyone justice from a wellness standpoint at all. It just doesn't.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think you're doing the right thing. And that's hard for a lot of people to come to that conclusion and not feel bad about it. Like I'm taking the weekend off. It was funny. Was it yesterday? Yes, actually, I think it was yesterday. I was on the pickleball courts, and we do have a therapist that plays, and I'm not exactly sure what her expertise is, but she will frequently and if anyone knows pickleball, kind of on the same line as tennis or whatever, you're playing, like you don't stop a match for the phone. Well, she frequently does that. And she will stop the match. She'll take her phone, literally takes her phone right out of her pocket, and she'll pause the game. Or she doesn't even actually pause the game. She starts to walk off the court. And like the other three opponents are like, most of the time it's doubles. And they're looking, and I couldn't resist. She finally put her phone down or hung up the phone. And she says, well, I got to make money, And I said, absolutely, free enterprise, please make your money. But your time, these people are not making money off of your time, but you're impeding their time because you see, there's all these people that want to get on this court. And that's how we're locally where we play, once the courts fill up, the paddles go in, you wait. And I thought, and everyone was like, oh, thank God someone said anything because she does it all the time. And I said, look, I didn't say it mean. I just said, it's just not appropriate. Like, we understand that, but maybe this isn't the time then for you to go ahead and put your paddle in and play a game. Maybe you should wait till your schedule's cleared, because that's also showing respect for the other three that are waiting.
100%, 100%.
She wasn't happy about it. And, but I didn't get into any kind of conversation. I kind of just said my piece, and then that was
Probably
it.
no one ever says it to her because people are like, I don't want to interrupt. We reserve courts. I'm coaching girls middle school tennis, and we were at a club when we had rented some courts there. And the woman next to us she was playing with her kid, and she didn't like that we were practicing, and some of our balls rolled over. So I sent girls to go get our balls so they weren't in our way because there was no fence between, and she picked them up and left with them. I was just like, what are you doing? And, her daughter was as good as the girls on my team. So it wasn't whatever. Or there was pickleball playing on the courts, and we had reserved the courts. And I was like, excuse me, sir, but we have these two courts. And he just started screaming at me. This man started screaming at me. I was like, what? First of all, I have 14, 10, 11, and 12-year-olds next to me. Why are you screaming? Right. And I just stepped away. I was like, I'll just go deal with someone else. And yes, those were indeed the courts we were supposed to have. So I just took the other courts because I was not going to get into it. He's like, I'm always here. And I'm like, oh, okay. Thank you for yelling. It could have just been like, hey, I'm sorry for the confusion. These are the courts we always have. Can you double check them? And I was like, I actually have the email right here, the two numbers. But
people have lost that ability to, have a conversation about, a misunderstanding. And I think that's, people just don't have the patience, but I do, on the flip side of that, I understand why they don't, and that's where they have to take some boundaries themselves and say, you know what, I don't feel like I'm really fit for public at this point. Like if I'm going to argue with somebody, so maybe I need to look deep within myself. What is really going on with me? Maybe put up those boundaries and say, you know what, I need a timeout.
It's really hard for one person's triggered. I think, everyone's in a bit of a trauma response from being in lockdown for this long. And again, the uncertainty all the time, it's just triggering that. And there's a lot of entitlement. But really what I like, I'll go back to like what I'm seeing now, like all of that stuff is amazing, and boundaries, you have to have some awareness, but having awareness and not doing anything, that's what I like to call like, right? Like, okay, I have the awareness. I know when I'm driving, I flip off 5 cars a day. Why is everybody's driving so bad? Is it everybody or is it you? Are you being extra aggressive? Maybe you shouldn't drive on that street. Is there another route? There's plenty of ways to kind of go around it. Or you could be like, what is that thing? What is that pain? What is that unfairness that you're feeling? And then that's where your healing needs to happen. And I bet it bleeds into more than everything, like more than other things. And maybe you're flipping all those other people off because you feel not powerful at work, or not powerful in your family, or not powerful in your own circumstance.
I love that, don't you, Jan? I mean, I think there's so much just in saying it that way, don't you think?
Yes. And I will say this, I'm going to come clean. I was driving back from Philly yesterday, Philly to Connecticut. And I am in, I go in the passing lane and then I get over. Now I had somebody in front of me who just slowed down, put their brakes on. There's nothing going on in front of them, and slowed down. And of course they're, on their cell phone. And I'm like screaming. I'm like, hello, it's the pedal on the right. You're on a major highway. Let's get going. So I'm slightly able to get around, but was that road rage? Was that me? I would tell you it definitely wasn't me, but it was me saying, hello, it's the pedal on the right. That pedal. Thank you.
I think we all do a little bit. I just think the whole cell phone thing, it just drives me wild while you're driving. And then you put so many other people in danger, like with all of this stuff
So
going
dangerous.
on.
Well,
Right.
I've kind of adapted because I used to be that person. I would write on someone's bumper and I wouldn't care. Like I could be, because and depending on what city I was in, you had to be a little bit more aggressive. But when I realized, when the country really started going like literally cray cray, and road rage now turned to death because you don't know what's in that person's car, if they've got a weapon or whatnot. I've changed my stance on that, and it's actually worked out in a real positive way, because I don't feel that kind of within me. And when someone's acting, inappropriately, meaning they're on their cell phone, or, someone cuts me off or whatever, or even if by accident I make a misstep, because we do that too. Sometimes, maybe my blinkers are not quick enough or whatever. I just wave and smile.
Yeah.
The
wave goes so far. It's sorry, I didn't mean to do that. That goes far.
Right.
That goes far.
And they don't know why I'm waving, whether maybe it pauses them enough to say, ooh, is that someone I know? Like, I don't want them to see me this way. Or, oh, well, she's not a mean person. Maybe she didn't mean to really cut me off or whatever. So I find it's kind of versatile to kind of maybe calm the other person, and or jot their brain to say, stop, slow down, or whatever it may be. And in that way, I'm not reacting the way I don't want to react.
So
sure.
true. So true. And on that note, Wealth Wellness Wednesday with Holly Hughes. Holly, we can't thank you enough, and we'd love having you on our podcast. And obviously we'll hope that you will come back again. And, again, thank you to everyone who has so graciously reached out regarding my son, Ryan. He's doing exceptionally well. So thank you to everyone. My name is Janice, AKA Wellness Diva 5.0, and I am with TwoSistas.
And this is Carol, so AKA Naughty Boss, loving this chat with Holly and kind of getting into understanding that it's okay to put boundaries up. Give yourself that time that you need to make sure that whoever you're surrounding yourself with today and every day is adding value, is impacting you in a positive way. Because guess what? When you're feeling that and doing that, it's kind of the domino effect. And we're all about pushing forward kindness and tolerance, patience, and treating others the way that you want to be treated. With that, we will see you tomorrow for Trending Thursday. There's got a lot of trending going on. And are you going to be the trend center? We're going to find out. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, Holly.
Thank you.